Everybody, welcome back to the Player's Perspective. We are one-on-one with Chris Harris, the best nickel cornerback in Broncos history, a Super Bowl 50 teammate, one of the guys that I learned from and one of the guys that I looked up to right coming into the league because he was undrafted. That's one of the guys I'll never forget. One of my first OTA's practices, you were coming off the ACL injury and you were on the side, but a lot of people just pointed you out like, no, bro, like he undrafted. This is the way that you could take his path to the league, man. So just want to give you your kudos, bro, and your props just to who you were, the way you carried yourself. You were the ultimate pro and somebody that I learned a tremendous amount from when I first joined the league. So welcome to the show, Chris. Appreciate you, bro.
Man, appreciate y'all, bro. And coming off that injury, like you said, I had to grind on that side. I couldn't, I was itching to get out there with y'all, man. But you was always a great rookie, man, and you coming in and learning under E and DT and still find a way to make plays and get on the field, man. That's tough to do, man. So definitely got to commend you for coming in and grinding and really facing the challenge, right? You had to go get some dogs
Hey,
every day.
we'll jump into that right now, man. I will tell you my first impression of you as a teammate when I actually got to start going against you during the season was like, bro, this dude doesn't bite on any fakes at the line of scrimmage. He don't go for none of my releases, just super patient. Where did you learn how to play like that?
Yeah, man, it was just grinding, man. Practicing how to stay square over and over and over again, and just mastering the fundamentals, mastering the little things of the game. And me playing everywhere in college, and then coming in the league, being able to play everywhere, I just plugged in naturally. It just came in natural, and I got used to playing in man, used to being on the island. A lot of guys can't get comfortable out there, one on one. So I just try to learn how to be comfortable out there in that setting. Continue to perfect my technique and just work hard every day. I was a guy that I feel like I took every practice like a game, and that really helped me in the games. It made it easier for me.
100%. I definitely can attest to that. That's a thing that a lot of people say, but that's something that you actually lived, and that's something that you actually had to live every single day because you were undrafted. I think that's a lot of things. A lot of people don't understand that every day until you get that second contract as an undrafted free agent, they are trying to find a reason why you didn't get drafted. It doesn't make sense to them that you're having this much success in the league. Talk a little bit about just the 2014 season, coming off the ACL injury, but we had just signed Talib, who you played with in college, and we had just drafted Roby. Similar situation here where we have a Pat Surtain, a Riley Moss, and now you draft a Jahdae Barron. Talk a little bit about that 2014 season and what was it like to just reconnect with Talib and then having Roby into the fold?
Yeah. Oh man, I think that was the year of us losing the Super Bowl.
No,
Right.
no,
So I was
coming off the Super Bowl loss, and then 2014 we lost to Indianapolis at home.
right. So I was already mad that I couldn't get to show what I could do during that playoff. So right there, that added motivation because at that time, I was following the best receiver during that time. Me and DRC, but DRC was more of the finesse guy, and I would go deal with the more of the physical, receiver. So we had a pretty much good secondary at that time, but I just got hurt right there in that divisional playoff. So that just added more motivation not being able to play in that Super Bowl, and
Yeah.
then having that injury, it was definitely tough. Definitely, I felt like it was a setback, but being able to train there in Denver with Vaughn, we just pushed each other every day and made sure that we was ready to go to have a big year coming in that 2014 season. So Broncos, adding more competition. And I was kind of already used to it, because
Yeah.
after my first year, they had Drayton Florence, Tracy Porter, and then get Kayvon Webster, Tony Carter, DRC. It was always competition, right? Even when Champ was there, right? Champ was still there,
Yeah.
right? So it was always competition, and I was always used to it. And I felt like I was the best at what I did. I knew nobody is going to be better than me in the inside. So right there, I'm going to be on the field. But if I can continue to show that not only am I good inside, I'm nice outside too,
Yeah.
right? So that was my goal to show that, hey, I can play outside corner and the inside safety all over the field. And when you have a guy like that, it's hard to take him off the field. So
Yeah.
I always kind of use that as my advantage.
Love that, bro. And that's something that I got a chance to see in 2014. Can you talk about a little bit of the difference, the 2014 DB secondary group and then the
Yeah.
no-fly zone? What is the difference? Because that's a year apart, but you become the number one defense in 2015, and that secondary to me is the best secondary of all time. Obviously, shout out to the Legion of Boom, incredible corners that played there, incredible secondary that played there, but they did not play man to man like you guys did. What's the difference between the 2014 secondary and 2015 secondary?
I would just think the scheme. We had Jack Del Rio, and I don't believe everybody was bought into him as a D coordinator. I loved him. I played great under him, but I don't think the whole defense was, bought in, sold out for his system. We had a lot of communication issues. That season, a lot of breakdowns and coverages, and we had Raheem Moore at the safety that year. The next year, 2015, we had a D Stu. We started to play David Bruton a lot more in the dime packages, which he can match up on tight ends, and use his length and speed that he had. We started to use more guys under Wade, and really have a main focus is, hey, we're gonna play man. We're gonna send the heat. We're gonna pressure, and that's what we're gonna roll with all year. And we kind of made that our system from the very get go, from OTAs, and had that confidence that when we're in tight games and we need to make a play, we're going to be the guys that make that impact plays. And so we're used to being in those tough situations, uncomfortable situations during the seasons that most people choke at. Most defenses break down at, but we thrived in those situations.
100%. So where do you rank the no-fly zone in the history of the NFL defenses in terms of secondary? What do you guys rank?
Yeah. Oh man, I put us number one. Just by the versatile coverage, right? We could really play every system if you really look at it, and be able to match up with any type of receiver. We had guys all over the field that could cover. And when you look at our route that we had to go to win the Super Bowl, playing Big Ben, playing the GOAT Tom Brady, and then playing MVP Cam Newton, I don't think anybody ever had a tougher road, to be able to win the Super Bowl. And when you see that and you see how we played against those guys, I don't think anybody's ever hit Tom Brady as much as us.
Yeah.
Picking them off, making it real hard on all those guys. All three are Hall of Fame guys. And the way we had to do it all season, right? Peyton was hurt. Brock had to step in, right? The offense wasn't putting up the numbers that y'all usually do, the past years, right? So we had a lot of tight games that we really had to really take over and win those games for us.
Where did you think we took the step in terms of, like, you guys knew the number one defense? I see in the background you got that game ball from Sunday Night Football. You guys held Aaron Rodgers to 70 yards in that game, bro. That was one of the most electrifying atmospheres. But, like, they couldn't get first downs. They could not move the ball at all. And when you think about that receiving core, they had a young Devontae Adams, I believe. I think Jordan Nelson was still there. So, I mean, they had some playmakers, and obviously Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. Did you feel like that's where you guys took the step?
That was the game that I think we put everybody on notice, right? Because the offense at that time was already, y'all were really clicking, a little bit right there. That was probably the best we played all season, really.
Yeah.
During that time. And when we played Aaron Rodgers, they had Randall Cobb, Jones. Was it James Jones?
Yep, James Jones.
Yeah,
yep.
Jones, Devontae, Jordy. So they had receivers, and our game plan was just man, right? We're gonna get up in your chest, make these guys get off the line, and make Aaron Rodgers get off his spot and be disciplined pass rushing, right? And we put that in. I don't think that got to be one of his lowest games that he ever threw, right?
If
and
not his lowest one.
That's not the old Aaron Rodgers, right? That's the Aaron Rodgers that can run, can move, can make every throw. And we able to shut him down. So I think right there we put everybody on notice that we are the top guys, and you're gonna have a tough time coming into Denver to beat us.
100%, bro. I think as you're talking about that, when I think about the no-fly zone and I think about going against you guys in practice, I think about accountability. Can you talk a little bit about the accountability that you guys all had? It was like, hey, if you see something, you're saying it. If Akib sees something, he's saying it. If TJ sees something, D Stu, whatever it may be, you guys had accountability to one another. Talk a little bit about that and why that was so important.
I mean, everybody took it serious, right? When you have a whole secondary that's, professionals like we were, the way we studied with Joe Woods and Coach Wade, it was second to none. We were always the last ones in the building, right? There wasn't a position group that stayed longer than the secondary, right?
Yeah.
Benny, am I lying?
No, you're not lying. No.
We were right. We were always there, right? So people don't understand that. Of course, we went out there and was top defense, top pass defense, and third down, everything, right? Interceptions, pick sixes, right? All that, right? But we put the time in the building and really studying and really preparing for our opponent, right? When we played Cam Newton, it wasn't a game that I hadn't watched even preseason, right? I knew every route. We knew every route and every play that they were going to run, and we knew that they were going to not change their offense versus us.
Yep.
Right. We knew that they were that cocky. They believed in, Cam. Cam was great, right? They just put up 30 on the Cardinals. We knew what they were going to do. So, we always had a high level of preparation. And with that 2015, there's never been a level of just accountability from everybody, right? Everybody knew exactly what to do. If it was motion, everybody's talking, everybody's communicating, right? And, the secondary, a lot of guys trusted me to make a lot of calls, put us in the right situations, let them know what's coming. I'm kind of a quarterback out there on the field. So you tie all that in together with the talent that we have. It's a scary secondary.
1,000%, bro. So now transitioning to the current Broncos, how does this secondary become somewhat like the no-fly zone? It's going to be hard to, I'm never going to say no-fly zone 2.0 because it's the best secondary. And if people want to argue, top two secondaries of all time. So how do they take a step towards that? How would you talk to Riley Moss? How would you talk to a Pat Surtain as a veteran, as somebody who played 13 years in the NFL?
Yeah, right. Just like I just said, taking that accountability, making sure everybody's doing their job, doing their role, playing their role, right? Everybody, you have to play everybody. You're going to need everybody. You're going to need Moss, you're going to need Barron, you're going to need Jaquan McMillan, you're going to need all these guys, right? And that's what it takes to win a Super Bowl. We always needed Kayvon Webster, right? We always needed a Will Parks, right? Guys that can play everywhere and just jump in if somebody gets hurt, right? You always need those guys. And that's a good thing that they have now. They have more competition. There's more, I want to see what Jaquan McMillan's going to do, right? Are you going to take that step like me and beat those guys out, beat out a first rounder, right, and start, right? Because I had to do it. Can you do it, right? So I want to see if these guys are going to compete, who's going to take the spots, right? Because even though he's first round, I don't see VJ just giving a guy the starting spot, right? 100%. He got to go in and take it and win it. So it's just having that accountability, taking it to the next level, adding more competition, right, is going to make them better. And, VJ, he's an aggressive coach. He's going to send the heat. So you're going to have to win on the island and be able to win third downs, right? Third downs, I think we're a little shaky. It's something that we can clean up next year. If they can take that hump, get more pick sixes. I think Pat was the only one that probably got a pick six. That was a corner.
We need way more of that. Yeah, we need more of that. We had Talib. Who else had a pick six? I mean,
Roby was scoring.
Yeah, Robe. Yeah.
Yeah. So you to win a Super Bowl, you gotta have everybody getting in that end zone, right? So seen Benito do it, but we need more of those type big plays.
100%. And just to give the audience a more of an inside look in terms of what you're talking about with competition, I totally agree with you. You had yourself and Akib. Those are your top two. They're going to make the roster. You obviously draft Robe. He's a first-round pick, but Robe had to come in there and compete with K. Webb. He had to come in there and compete with everybody else. So we had competition literally in every room, and that's what this competition, I'm excited about that because that's how you become a really good team. we drafted Cody, but I was competing against Cody. I want to get on the field before him. I'm undrafted. He's second round pick. I'm competing with Bubba Caldwell, Jordan Norwood. But when I think about the secondary that we had to win the AFC West back-to-back years, my first 2 years, it was competition in every room. And everybody was super uncomfortable, bro. And, it is what it is.
Yeah, and that's, that was our downfall probably the last 10 years, right, is the competition in each room, right? It wasn't really anybody there challenging Cortland. Who's been there challenging Cortland?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
There's nobody there really challenging Pat, right? Who's challenging Pat?
Right.
So we still had competition, right? High level. We had DT and E. They're competing, right? They both won 1,000.
Yes, both of them.
They both won 10 touchdowns, right? It's competition, man, and that's what's going to make the Broncos better. We still need more competition in the running back room, I think. Still adding to that room. Even more competition. We added more with the receiver room, right?
Yep.
That's going to be healthy, right? So we're starting to get there, and that's how you build. That's how you win 5 straight AFC champions, right? Continue to have good depth, good competition at every position. Keep guys uncomfortable, right?
100%.
And you're going to get the best out of everybody.
You played for Sean in New Orleans, correct?
No, I had Coach Dennis Allen at that time.
Okay.
Sean had just retired.
Okay.
So, but it was kind of his same system, though.
Yeah, his philosophy, his way or the highway. Sean was one of the best coaches I played for, man. He was incredible. Talk a little, we drafted Jahdae Barron, and you talked about the fact that he could play outside and inside. Where do you think he starts? And then also, if he does play nickel, what's going to be your advice to him, and have you talked to him?
No, I haven't talked to him, man. I'm down here training one of his linebackers, Anthony Hill, and he was freshman All-American. He's a dog. Okay. But I need to get Barron down here too, man. Just, learning, understanding the nickel, understanding how to cover in that space. He got to do it a lot at Texas, but, you're going to see a lot more motioning, a lot more checks at the line, a lot more stacks and bunches in the NFL that you see in college, right? You know how it is, Benny, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have to be able to, be man on number 3, and you're running a follow route, or you're running, a pivot route. So there's all types of things in the slot that you got to be able to learn. How to play zone, play man, play cover 3 zone, play cover 2 zone. Are we running traps? Right, different things that you have to understand in coverages and movements that I can definitely help him on, and what he's going to have to do in VJ's system, right? VJ likes to blitz the nickel, right? Are you ready to blitz? Are you ready to go in there with the 300-pound tackle, right? And get your head in there and get dirty, right? Making tackles on running backs, right? You got to be able to play everything in that slot. So I'm pretty sure he's ready for it. But it just turns up a little bit. You know how it is, man. Now you got guys that are master classes in the slot and space.
Yep.
Right?
Your Cooper Kupps, your Wes Welkers.
Yeah. Option routes. Then you got your speed demons that going in the slot. And now the number 1 receiver goes in the slot. So you're going to see everybody. There's no hiding any DB in today's NFL. You're going to get found. Right. So it's just, having that guy ready to compete. And that's one thing I can tell him is, even if you get beat, line up again, get ready for the round 2 of the next fight. Right. And that's how it is in the NFL, man. You got to love to compete.
100%. Jahdae Barron, if you're watching this, if you ever do see this, bro, hit Chris up, man. The best Broncos nickel in the history of this franchise. And we've had a lot of incredible players and all pro. So hit him up, man. And this kid seems very humble, too. I mean, I watched his press conference, and I love the fact that, he wants to learn. He wants to learn from Pat. But I think one of the things that we can do, as especially somebody like yourself as Broncos alumni, is talk with these young kids. Rod Smith did it with me. I know you had people like Champ. So definitely want to share the knowledge there for sure. Where do we go? How do we close the gap with the AFC West, bro? How do we match up in terms of our secondary now against, I would say Kansas City is really the only receiver group that really has those top weapons that we have to compete against. How do we close that gap?
Man, Mahomes is, they're going to be much improved on the O-line. And defensively, I think they definitely took a step back with Snead being gone from last year. McDuffie having playing more outside, right? Which he was, some guys can't move. Some guys can't transition to play outside and inside.
Right.
I think McDuffie just fits more better in the slot. So we'll see how they play them next year. Of course, the Chargers are continue to be a game that we've split every year, right? They got to be able to try to win two. You got to try to. I would see them splitting KC, right? You got to try to win two versus the Chargers. We used to not split versus them, right? So if they
Yep.
can get it to where they can get two from one of them and try to split from the Raiders or double down on them, then now we can win the AFC West, and be able to dethrone the Chiefs. But somebody has to do it, man. We can't. Would this be 8 years in a row?
Yes, something crazy, bro, and
Yeah,
it's been ridiculous in terms of that, man. What do you think about Patrick Mahomes, and then how would you go into a game with the current secondary we have now? Say you're coaching this current secondary we have now, going into the Kansas City game. How would you go in and coach them? Because, bro, when I played with y'all took it personal.
Yeah,
Y'all took it real personal.
yeah, man. I think they will. I think they have been because I can see their intensity when they play the Chiefs. Right, we really had the game won. They blocked the field goal.
Yeah,
Right, we just didn't finish the game. We could have swept them this year.
yeah.
Right, but when you play a guy against Mahomes, you got to be at your best. Right, when we played Tom Brady, we knew we had to be at our best, and that's the approach they got to take when they play this guy. I think you got to keep him in the pocket. He makes his big plays outside the pocket. And what did Philly do a good job? They kept him inside. They forced him to play quarterback, beat him through the pocket, and that's probably your best way to defend this guy. Worthy, he's going to be better. Speedster, I think we can put hands on him. I think we can cover all the receivers. So, did they pick up a veteran receiver?
I don't know if they picked up a veteran, but I know Rasheed Rice is coming back. I think they might have drafted one in the 4th round as well.
Yeah, so I'm not. I don't think they fear covering those guys. It's just, can we eliminate the big plays, keep Worthy, keep a cap on Worthy, right, and keep Mahomes in the pocket. Don't let this guy get out running, scrambling like he does in late in the games, right? And I dare one of those guys to hit him. Please, you want to. Somebody has to send a message, in that game, and you might get a penalty, right? You never know, but we used to kind of send those messages, So somebody has to
take us into that real quick. I mean, now that time has passed, where were games where you did have to send a message, or you did send a message? I do remember Talib in the Super Bowl throwing my man down by the face mask, but he was like, "I'm just going to let you know right now, we already here. What you want to do?"
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that at games that you remember where y'all sent a message and like, yeah, we're going to we'll take the personal foul.
I mean, it was damn near every game with us. We had a whole bunch of Draymond Greens. In our team.
Shout out to my dog. Shout out to my dog, Money Green.
TJ might come in, get a flag. Danny Trevathan. Vaughn might get one. You never know, man. And a lot of time it just might be those guys are just hustling, and just sending that message, with Brady. We hit this guy, I mean, damn near 20 times.
Yeah.
We sent, we played Gronk in the snow. D. Stu came out of the middle.
Lit him up.
Right? It could be something like that might not even get a penalty, every game. I remember our first game versus Baltimore, they had Steve Smith. We let him know early you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just every game, we kind of want to send that message to every quarterback and especially their receivers. If you catch the ball, you're gonna definitely get smacked dealing with us.
1,000%, bro. I could remember that for sure. Talk a little bit about Bo Nix, what you've seen from him just as a rookie, how you see him carrying himself, and then like what do you expect from him going in from year 1 to year 2?
Oh man, next year, I mean, I expect him really, taking more control of the offense, having more role on the field, in between plays. Sean Payton, he's a 2 play call guy, and checks. I remember playing Drew Brees. He always had an alert. And a lot of quarterbacks do that. But can you take that next step to a Peyton Manning, right? You know how he is. Like, he had his own little playbook with it. No huddle play style, right? Will they let him evolve into that type of guy? Take the training wheels off of him a little bit. So that's kind of what I expect. I really want him to run more, add more running plays, for the quarterback. I think we kind of got away from that at the end of the season. And we see, Philly's not stopping doing that. Buffalo's not stopping doing that. Ravens are not, right? So I would say let's add a little bit more to the quarterback run game still. Be consistent with that. As long as he's healthy, all year. And just evolve as a quarterback. You got to take those next steps, take more command of the offense. I'm pretty sure he probably already knows everything, right? And just continue to just have more command. There's always new plays, out there that you always sprinkle in that he'll find. And but I want to see him run a little bit more next year.
How much pressure does that put on the defense, and especially the secondary, when there's a run pass option, and then now we got RJ Harvey, from UCF, who's got explosive playmaking ability. You add somebody like an Evan Ingram, and then you got a Cortland Sutton, and you have all this explosive talent now, and then you also have Bo, who has the ability to run. How much pressure does that put on a defender, and especially the defensive backs?
Oh man, we hate it, right? If a quarterback can run and we're in 2-man, that puts us right out of that. You're gonna have to play more single high, right? And it kind of forces the defense in your hand. And when you have a guy that can move the chains with his legs, you got design runs with him at the quarterback. Now as a defense, we got more schemes that we have to prepare for, right? It puts even more on us in our preparation. So it just adds so much to the offense, especially if we can get a home run hitter with Harvey. And estimate continue to grow as a power back. We still got McLaughlin, right? He's a scat back. He's a guy that made plays and find a way to get Mims the ball. So we have the weapons around him, I think, to make plays. We'll see how Evan Ingram does at tight end, but I think we built a really solid core around him this year that he could really flourish. So usually when I look at quarterbacks, first thing, do they have an O-line? You would say check, right?
Right, 100%. We definitely got protection.
Solid O-line, right? Then does he have a running game? We didn't really have a running game for Bo Nix last year.
Yeah.
Right? That's one thing you could say was lacking from the offense that could have made his life way easier.
1,000%.
Right? So if we can do that next year, add more to the running game, make it more balanced, I can definitely see this kid having a big year.
100%, man. Last couple questions. We're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of our 2015 season. What's your favorite couple memories from that season?
Man, just being in the locker room, man. The locker room was always fun, never a dull moment. Club 58, the whole year, all of us. That was fun all year, man. Casino nights, all that stuff, man. Just all that stuff, hanging with the fellas. Off the field, but on the field, going into the black hole, beating them. That was a crazy game. Cleveland game, went in there in overtime. I've never been in an overtime game where the offense gets the ball first, but they go backwards.
Yeah.
Right? We make them lose 20 yards.
100%.
Right? Super Bowl run, that whole run, being in San Fran and that whole 2 weeks. We were down there a whole week. What was it?
Whole week, we were down in San Francisco.
Yeah, a whole week. Just hanging down there, man. It was fun. So it's gonna be good to see everybody. I got to see a lot of those guys last year when the no-fly zone came, and then Talib was down here with me. We live right by each other down here, so see him more.
How's he doing? How's he doing? How often do y'all catch up? He's obviously one of the most incredible teammates, one of the smartest teammates. You and him.
Yeah.
I actually tell people all the time that, I play with Peyton, I play with Eli and Drew Brees, and then the two smartest players after that were you and Talib. Because of just like y'all new concepts, bro. We'd be in practice and you'd be like, oh, the slot's on the line. Oh, they running the dagger route. Bam, this and that. I'm like, bro, how do we disguise this more? But you and Talib were always on that. So, how's he doing? And then, what's you guys' What do you remember just about him? What's your favorite Talib story from the 2015 season, or just period, just being teammates with him?
Man, me and Talib go back since college, right? Just we won an Orange Bowl championship there. He always been a big bro, and when we got to the league together, we knew it was over. It's gonna be hard to deal with us both. And he's a guy that just loves football, right? This guy watches football all day, and from college football to NFL. I think that kind of what separates a lot of guys, right? Do you really like football? Mm-hmm. And Talib is going to play Madden. He's going to watch football all day, whether it's college or NFL. He's going to be on the iPad watching football, right? He lives it all day. And then, the impact that he has with the kids, is second to none, all the stuff that he does for the kids and still to this day. So, when you have guys that really love the game and live it all day, and that's why that's always led us to competing. Always having that. We both love the game, and we're gonna do whatever we can to win. And he hates to lose.
Hates it. Oh, hates
man. it. He hates to lose, and you got a guy that does not want to. Like you said, he gonna scratch, scar, even if he got a cheat, he gonna try to win.
Yeah. He's one of those dudes that he gonna push you to be great in practice, and I'll never forget this quote during the 2015 season. He said, "I'm gonna work like everything depend on me, and I'm gonna pray like everything depend on God." And I'll just never forget that, because he was breaking this down one time, and that's exactly how he prepared. But if you wear the same jersey as him, bro, he ride with you no matter what.
Yes, sir.
That's
what I'm saying. Like, you gotta have them Draymond Greens, man.
I mean, it's the only way you win a championship, bro.
That are playmakers, what I mean?
Playmakers, smart. Last question, man. Favorite Peyton Manning memory? Any memories from practice or anything that you just remember from him?
Man, Peyton, man, I just remember. I remember asking Peyton, like, man, if we ever gonna get a day off for one-on-ones, man, because this guy loved one-on-ones, right? I mean, do y'all remember not a day when we didn't do it? Like,
man, he wanted to do red zone. He wanted you to run crosses across the field. Like, bro, like there's no defense over there. Y'all was like, bro, I'm not running over there.
Right, every day. And I remember just being young, and then when Peyton first year, Foxy was like, "Come on, guy, we can't do it every day, Peyton." You know what I mean? Like, I just remember him and Fox fighting over the drills in one-on-one, but he just tried to perfect his game and in the small things. Having y'all run routes during special teams. A lot of times you were out there grinding on the special teams, but E and DT there was never a time where they were sitting down. Right, they 100%. Always had to work with this guy, and that's one thing I'll tell the quarterbacks. Right, whatever that time schedule that you got to practice, Peyton Manning made sure he used every bit of that time and more. Right, so that's what I try to feed into my young guys. Man, I got like 5,000 clips of our one-on-one sessions. Right, of our practice. So with my 7-on-7 league, team, I show them all our clips. Yeah. Right, they're actually watching you get off routes, how to get off releases and things like that. So watching Peyton orchestrate an offense, what is he doing at the line of scrimmage, things like that. And I still got those footages, man. I'm not letting those go.
I love it, man. And yeah, that's one thing that I wanted to leave on, man. The impact that you're having on the youth, the Chris Harris Jr. Elite 7-on-7. Talk a little bit about the things that you learned in the NFL that you are now helping kids understand, not only on the field side, but the preparation, how to be a great young man, how to show up on time, the importance of the little things that helped you become an all-pro. Talk a little bit about that to finish us out.
Man, we're holding these kids accountable at a young age, teaching them the game, teaching route concepts, how to truly play defensive coverages, right? A lot of these schools, are not truly developing the youth. To prepare them to excel, especially here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's been my job to really come back and really teach those guys the real football. My 10-year-olds, I call them baby geniuses, because they can run a whole NFL system right now, right at 10 years old. So as they continue to get older, they're going to be, prepared and ready for high school, college, or NFL if they're able to make it that far. So it's just implementing real life situations, real life football situations to them, teaching them fundamentals and techniques that I learned later, or once I got to college, and now being able to perfect those and give it to them. So that's my job, man. And we haven't we got all the talent in the world right there in Oklahoma,
Right.
and a lot of dogs, but they haven't got the notoriety. Right, they haven't been, had somebody like me to kind of push them and get them out there. So that's my job, to help those guys get noticed. Hopefully, be able to go play longer than me, and get them. Hey, show them how to be a man early. Right, we teach
100%.
them. Hey, you got to be a man early. And grow up fast. Right, because the landscape of college football changes. Or it's a totally different world now. Right, you're a professional at 17, 18 years old, right? And a lot of these guys, some of them are getting paid in high school, right? So you got to learn how to be a professional at 16 or maybe even 15, right? So a lot of these counseling and things like this is needed. And I definitely love being able to interact with the youth and help them guys develop.
Everybody, that's Chris Harris Jr., man, joined the Player's Perspective, man, one-on-one, one of the best teammates I ever had, ultimate pro, 13 years in the league, Super Bowl champion, man, all-decade team, so many accolades, but also great husband and father, and I got a chance to see that. It's the most important thing in everything he's doing to give back, man. Really appreciate you joining us.
Yes, sir, man. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.